What is good, ladies and gentlemen? This is your boy Chad bringing y'all another video, man. Before we get this video started, man, I hope everybody that's doing well. I want to thank everyone who has recently subscribed to my channel. It means a lot. All glory to God, you feel me, for bringing you guys here. But this video, I'm just going to be talking about what I realized, on my way back home from the gym. So I was sitting up here thinking, like, how is it that the elites, the establishment, the people in charge, how are they gaining power, right? And then I thought, this has to do with one, their hunger and thirst for power, complete tyranny, an authoritarian style of like making society function. And then it also has to do with the people. So just think about this, right? During the height of pandemic, when the nurses and healthcare workers are now fired for not being vaccinated, right? During the height of the pandemic, they were the heroes. Everybody was championing them. Oh my gosh, put the nurses on your back. Now they're the demonized. So you have people who are like, yo, they need to be vaccinated when it comes to this type of stuff. They need to blah, blah, blah. And so what has happened is from the people who don't know any better and are just going to get along, go along, those same people, because they complain, conform, they're conformists. We just got to call it what it is. They're conformist. They do what they're told. They don't question people in authority. They just basically master told them do this, they do it. You feel me? So they complain about how we need lockdowns, how we need mandates, the unvaccinated are the problem, why are we still in this pandemic? And in return, the establishment, the elites, the people who are really running the show say, oh, you guys have a problem. We're here to help. We'll solve it. So then they take over the healthcare industry, the business type of industry, things like that, with their mandates and with their firing rules and all that. Then I'm like, okay, I see the different parents, protesting about the ideologies that are being taught to their children in schools, because now that the pandemic has happened, you have Zoom, you got WebEx and all this stuff. You now have the time for the parents who are at home now due to everything being closed to see, what is it that my kids have been learning this whole time? Then they notice this critical race theory, it's Black Lives Matter, the pride flag, people saying Antifa, or trying to indoctrinate your children in 180 days. So what do the people do? They go to the school board and they're complaining. And one thing about people who, I want to say, I'm not trying to use the race card, but one thing compared from like black culture to white culture is white people really fight for their freedom way before black people kind of realize our freedom is gone. Like, you'll see white culture basically be on the front lines like, this is absurd. Now you do have the few, black culture people who are like, yo, I don't want this taught in my, kids' schools either, yada yada. But those are the aware individuals. Like, I would be the one like, yo, I don't want my kids learning this. This has nothing to do with the curriculum. This is blah blah blah. So most people who are part of white culture, or white people, they fight for freedom long before it's taken, and they're still fighting even when it's in the face of everyone else, and they're like, yo, what is going on here? They've been fighting for it. So you see mostly white people, if we're just going to be honest, just keeping it a buck, some black people too, because I don't want people to say it's not just white people, but some black people too, who are going to the school board basically saying like, yo, I don't want my kids learning this information. I don't need these ideologies taught. And what has happened is the establishment and elites have seen this happen, and there are other people like on the school board and stuff who are really just weak people who are like, yo, I'm fearing for my life. They're yelling at me and making threats because of the ideologies we're spreading in the school. And it would be one thing if they had teachers spreading that ideology, but when they're like, okay, that's the left's ideology, right? And the right has their ideologies that they're trying to spread. But the thing is, they only allow the left ideologies to spread in schools, versus the right ideologies are seen as bad or they're demonized and they can't be on the campuses, they can't be talked about. So now that you have parents mad that they're forcing people to think in this one way, now you have the school boards saying they're feeling threatened, and other parents who are more left leaning are like, oh, I don't like the way they're doing this. And then guess what the establishment elites do? The people complain. Then the establishment and the elites say, oh, we got y'all. We're here to help. So now you have stuff like the FBI is trying to step in and investigate the parents that are protesting and making threats, or step in and see why they're having these things. And it's like, if people don't realize, anytime the left complains about anything and they don't get their way, they say, daddy government, master government, please, please, master, step in and help us. And the government always goes, we're here to help and we'll step in. But what those people fail to realize is that once the government steps in, their point is not to step in for health care or make sure people are healthy or to not spread, bad ideologies. Their whole purpose to step in is to gain that power and control of that specific sector. So they're stepping in saying, finally, they gave us the keys to all of education. So now we have the education on lock and we can push our indoctrination, our narratives, our agendas, our ideologies without being stopped, because the ones who are going to rise up against it, we're now investigating them. We're now going to take them down. Those same nurses and stuff who didn't want to follow our indoctrination, our narrative, our agenda, our ideologies of what they should be doing with their bodies, we're going to step in and we're going to make sure they're gone. So that way now we control the healthcare sector. You see what I'm saying? So it's just gotten to the point where it's gotten kind of dumb. Just like, you've heard about the Facebook whistleblower. She came out and said that Facebook has corrupt practices and different things like that. And that was like one of the reasons why Facebook was down recently, like maybe 2 days ago or so. And what did she do again? She blew the whistle on Facebook has these corrupt practices. And then because her friend was affected by, I think, COVID misinformation. Okay, I'm gonna keep going. From COVID misinformation, she said, oh my gosh, please, master, daddy government, please step in, add more censorship. And it's like, do these people not realize what they're saying? They're asking the government, the establishment, the elites, the people in charge, the principalities of darkness, the rulers of evil, they're asking them to step in and, in other words, take over what they fail to do themselves. So because people can't cipher through their own information, she wants them to step in and censor even more. Now, the thing is, this censorship has gone so far where they're censoring information that they said is wrong, is false, with no claims, no basis, no facts to prove any different. And then days to weeks to months later, the information they originally censored is true. You feel me? So now you have basically, like in 1984, the Ministry of Truth. These people, I guess, are the arbiters of truth. They know all truth. There's no truth outside of them. If there is truth outside of them, shh, be quiet. Shh, shh, shh. We don't want that truth. Shh, shh. Censor yourself. Shh, shh. Censor yourself. You're being too loud. We have to get you off the platform because you're not going for what we say. We need you to comply and listen. And so what happens is those people who are asking for this are slowly losing their own freedoms, their own way of living, because they've technically gone, okay, if this is their way of living, their own healthcare decisions, their own, what they want their children to learn at school, their own basically social media lives and their own freedom of speech. They basically said, we don't know how to handle that on our own. Massa and daddy government, here you go. And we're going to do it in the name of, we're here to help. But what the government, if people haven't realized what the government and the system that is doing right now, it's gathering everybody that doesn't agree and pushing them off to the side. Everybody that agrees is keeping them all enclosed in a bubble, but it's the one in charge. And so eventually people are going to get to the point where they realize this isn't what we asked for. But the thing about that is, it's like that Russian video that I seen, not seen, but I saw, where the dude was like, you know, they start to demoralize the actual country. So when you have people like parents standing up to the ideologies pushed in schools, and then the government steps in and says, we're going to investigate you, all these protesting parents and stuff, what actually happens is they shut down the opposition and they allow for the indoctrination and the demoralization to continue. Hold on one second. And that's the first steps when I was watching that video. Like everything he said in that video, it was like, it's just coming to pass. Because once you demoralize a nation, it's so easy to conquer and take over. Like demoralization was like the first step. After that, the rest of the steps took like maybe a couple months, maybe a year. And we kind of see all that unfolding right now in front of us, you feel me? The only way you can truly get away from this type of like tyrannical, tyranny, authoritarian style, or people in society who are willingly giving away their freedoms and asking for other people to be in charge of them, like the government establishment, the elites, the people in power, people in charge, whatever you want to call them, right? You gotta disconnect from the system, you feel me? You can't do things to rely on the system and expect to be able to work with the system, you feel me? You can't say, okay, what I'm gonna do is I'm gonna just comply right now, but later on down the line, I'm gonna get them. I'm gonna not comply no more. The thing about it is, once you're complying in the beginning, by the time the stages are too far gone, you're basically gonna comply still. You know what I mean? It's either you have the willpower to finally break free, or you've become used to the system because you were compliant along the way. And it's not like they're making you comply all the way. You feel me? Like where there's a mark or a chip yet. It's just that they're doing it little by little. They're just like, let's see. And it used to be little by little at a slow rate. Now it's like, we're just going to take little by little by little by little by little by little. And eventually it's going to be full compliance. And people who, I guess, they think they're aware, or they think, no, the government's not going for power. They're not hungry for power. They're not authoritarian. They're not tyrants. Those will be the same people that when the government does something to them specifically to take their freedoms away, they'll be the first ones trying to, I don't want this, I don't. And it's too late because you complied the whole way until they basically smacked you on the butt and threw you in a concentration camp, you feel me? And that's what he also said inside the video. You know, he was like, you can present these people with all the facts, all the information. Don't listen to this. Don't listen to this. Don't do this. And they will not listen to any facts or truth. But the time that the people who are over them throw them in a concentration camp, that's when they'll finally realize the truth. Because they've been in their delusion so long that it would take something completely drastic, a whole lifestyle change that they can't walk away from, to make them actually realize what's going on, man. And that's really what I've been just noticing. Like, it's a lot of compliers out here. It's a lot of people trying to, they see what's happening in the system that's being built, which is basically the beast system, you feel me? Which the mark of the beast would be coming from this system. But they're not trying to take the time to build up that resistance, you know, early on. And I think a part of it has to do with people's discernment. But we'll save that discernment fact stuff for another video. But yeah, man, I just, you know, was coming back from the gym, and it's like I just received the download of like, this is really what's going on. Like, I see that people, there's so much chaos happening in the world, and what's happening is from that chaos, you're not gonna say order from chaos. It's like the government is basically just like, you know what? Anytime the people complain and there's too much chaos, we're gonna step in like we have their best interests at heart. But in actuality, behind there, we're going to step in. We're here to help. The underlying message that it's in small fine print is, we're just here to take over for complete power, complete authoritarian, tyrannical type style, to where eventually later down the line, you gave us your freedom willingly and now you want it back, but it's too late. You already told us we need to handle this, And once we have that power and that control, we're not going to relinquish it. You feel me? And that's just the way it is, man. But anyway, man, leave y'all comments down below if y'all have any. As always, thank you all for watching. And it's been your boy Chad, and I'm out. Peace.